To start off, brioche stitch, the most useful cast on I find is the Italian tubular or Italian two-color tubular cast on. So what you do is start out with your two strands, leave yourself enough of a tail of both of the colors to weave in the ends afterwards, so at least 6 inches or so. Just tie a loose knot. This is just to hold them together so that they're easier to handle at this point. So make it fairly loose because you'll need to undo it later. And tuck your needle in between those two strands. So the execution of this cast on is similar to a long tail cast on, where a long tail cast on you kind of fold in and work on the inside of your hand like this. For a tubular cast on, you're actually just going to work off these top two strands right here. So you're going to hold the yarn in the same way as you would for a long tail cast on. What we're going to do is build the knit stitches with one color and the purl stitches with another as we go along. So what you do to start off is just slide that knot on top of your needle so that there's one strand on each color. So I'm doing the dark on my index and the light on my thumb. And what I'll do is go under the thumb, around and behind the index, and then under the thumb again. And then I'm just going to slide the part where they connect right down to the center at the bottom of the needle, just so that my cast on lines up neatly. Now for the purl stitch, I'm going to go behind and under both strands, and then back through to catch the dark strand, which will leave the light one on my needle. Pull it back to center. So again, the knit stitch is going to be under the thumb, around and behind the index, and then under both again. For the purl stitch, I'm going to go behind and under both, then come back up and behind the index. So again, under the thumb, around and behind the index, under both, back around and under both, and then between the two behind the index. So you're always going to cast on a multiple of 2 with this particular cast on. If you're going on to do the brioche hat that I have for this lesson, you'll want a multiple of 4 just to make sure that the brioche works well with that pattern. So I've got one blue one that I started with the dark, and then a pink and a blue, and a pink. So I've got 2, 4, 6 stitches. So to make it a multiple of 4, I'm going to go 2 more. So under the thumb, around and behind the index, and under both, and then under both and back around to catch the pink. And that's it. That's your basic tubular cast on. If you want to make this last stitch stay on more easily, what you can do, just hold the stitch before so it doesn't move, and let that stitch fall off and just do a backwards loop cast on to add it on, just so it's more secure. So to show you that again, if it's not one you're familiar with, I'm just going to pull it off here. For a backwards loop cast on, you're going to just loop it over your thumb, but then grab your needle around the back of the left side and loop it on. So you can see it gives you a little loop there that looks kind of like an E. And just pull that snug, and now that will hold on tightly. When you come back to knit the back side, if you're knitting flat, this slip knot is just going to be slid off. So you'll have the first stitch will look a little loose, but it won't unravel just because of the way this cast on is done.